Hey, everybody, it's great to see you again. I'm so excited to let you know that today is the first day of a new series we're doing. It's called My Story. And in just a minute here, we're going to hear from this gentleman here, Bill Seekins, a long friend of mine, and he's got an amazing story that he's going to share with you. But I'm excited about this new video podcast series because we all have a story. God has given every one of us a story. And that story is the most powerful story that you're ever going to hear. So every week here over the next, probably the next year at least, we're going to see how this goes. But we're going to have someone come in here into our studio here at Ethnos Unlimited and share their story. And so these are stories from just everyday, ordinary people that God has done extraordinary things through. So I want to encourage you every week to just check us out. Check us out on Facebook here. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, a couple other places. And so today, our very first My Story. I'm so excited, Bill, that you're here. It's crazy. Like a couple months ago, someone reaches out to me on Facebook and I'm like, they're like, Bill Seekins. I'm like, Bill Seekins? Wait a minute, Bill Seekins? I used to live next to a guy named Bill Seekins, like 40 years ago, 35 years ago. And sure enough, it was my neighbor, Bill Seekins. We grew up in the South Lawn housing projects together. Bill was my neighbor. He got to hear me playing my saxophone late at night, early in the morning, because his bedroom was right next to mine. And I remember him pounding on the walls a couple times. And but I'm so honored, Bill, that you reached out to me and that God, has really been moving in your life. And so I'm just going to turn this over to you and just let us know what God has been doing in your life and maybe take us back to the beginning.
Thank you, Mark. So I met Mark, I think I was about 8 years old. But moving before that, my parents, we grew up in South Lawn housing projects in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And going back before that, my parents, my dad and mom met in Deep Hall Treatment Center.
Wow.
On South 13th Street. And my brother and sister's older dad, their dad was my dad's roommate in the treatment center. My mom left their dad for my dad at the
Wow.
treatment center.
Wow.
Had my brother and I, twins. My dad stayed sober his entire since 1975, when I was born, and their dad also stayed sober till he died. But so I come from a background of addiction, and I have an identical twin brother. I have a sister and an older brother, and we all have had our struggles with addiction and recovery. But ever since I can remember, I always felt really separate and apart from the entire world. And I had an identical twin brother who looked exactly like me. But I just felt so different from everyone. I could see everyone doing life and being happy, and everything seemed to come just so naturally to everyone else. And for me, it was different. So I always looked for something to change the way that I felt, something outside of me. I didn't want to be involved in a 12-step program. My father, I've only seen him like 8 times in my life, and he lived 2 stoplights from me. I don't resent him for that. I found out that he was also abandoned and physically abused. So he would meet me only at the different AA clubs, and I felt really alone because I didn't have any kind of father figure. I have an older brother who was in my life, and he went off to the army. I think I was like 11, and so now it was just my twin and I. I have an older sister who also went off to the army, so it was just. And my mom worked 60 hours a week as a waitress, and then she also worked at a factory. So my brother and I were left to parent ourselves, figure out this really scary world all by ourselves. And so I gravitated towards like what every other kid was doing at 13 or 14. I did have some really good church experience and introduction to the Word of God at Jubilee, where I went to school. Great curriculum. I was gifted. I was put into all the gifted classes ever since I can remember. But again, I hated school because it was everyone else, and then there was just me, and I could be in a room full of thousands of people, and I just felt so alone. And I very intelligent, they did the IQ test. They said I was very intelligent. I should be in all these classes, and that never satisfied me. Like the learning about anything never satisfied me. Never really filled this hole that left. People kept on leaving me. Like my dad, at 11 months old, he left. My older brother ended up leaving. My sister ended up leaving, and it was just me and my brother. And then my brother ended up getting in some trouble. So then it was just me and mom. And I'm like, wow, I really am alone. So I turned to, I didn't want to be poor. I never wanted to be poor because I was poor, like financially.
Yeah.
And I was poor of spirit as well. So I decided at about 7th grade to start. I started using marijuana, and I decided that I'm just going to sell drugs as much as I can. And I got in touch with some very powerful people in the city of Milwaukee, and so now I'm selling drugs at 8th grade.
Wow.
And I remember the assistant principal came in with the security guard from Pulaski High School, and they were doing a thing. They were like walking around, and the first day of high school, I walked across Oklahoma Avenue, and the security guard, his name was Rob the Knob, they called him. But he came across to my brother and my friends and I. It was a very scary day. It's the first day of high school.
Right.
I'm not very big in stature. I'm a little guy anyways. Yeah. And he said, you, and he pointed to my brother and I. He said, you're my assignment for this year. I'm not going to stop till one of you guys are in jail.
Wow.
A week later, caught my brother in the alley selling something. Wow. And then he's like, so now my brother's going through the court system and jail and everything. So now I lost my brother, my identical twin brother. And that was hard for me. It seemed like everything just kept on being taken from me. So this Rob, after he busted my brother, he said that I can, and I lived just, like 5 blocks away. He said that I don't have to really come to school, and he would hold the door open for me when I'd leave. So now I'm like free reign, So, wow. So I continued to, we would go, there was a beer warehouse in that was the first real enterprise I had. Was we would go in there and rob that, and we'd sell the alcohol to the older kids. And so now my ego is being filled up because now I have the one thing that I thought would make me happy, which is money. And with that money is power. What I thought. It's like a false power, you know, and I thought everything would be okay if I could just support myself and I could help my mom out a little bit. But I started, I was smoking the marijuana and doing the mushrooms and doing all the kind of lighter drugs. And then I got introduced to, a guy gave me a very large amount of cocaine. And he said to me, you know, and I had all these friends that were in like Waukesha and different suburbs. And I was like, I never want to introduce these guys to cocaine, you know, and I didn't do it yet. And he said to me, he said, well, everyone that does that smokes weed, they'll do this. So he turned me out. He turned my friends out, or I turned my friends out to this stuff. And now they're hooked. And I started doing it, powder cocaine. And it was, when I did it, I felt like I want to do this for the rest of my life. Nothing ever mattered. But that feeling of I'm away from everything, all my troubles went away for that period of time. And I got money.
Yeah.
You know, so I started doing it, and then I learned how to, there was a couple people that's when crack first came around. It was in the 90s. And I didn't want anything to do with crack because I seen that everyone was getting taken down by this. But the guy that I was fronting me these massive amounts of cocaine hooked it up and handed it to me. And like, this guy was the father figure that I was looking for. You know, he was my idol. I idolized him. And so, man, if the coolest guy in the world's doing this, who's got all this money that I'm after, I'm going to do it. And I did it. And I was out of my mind and I couldn't stop. And I knew that I was in trouble, that this was way more powerful than just simply, you know, partying on the weekends type of stuff. And so I had another guy who was fronting me the marijuana, very large amounts. And
so you're selling this stuff too, or?
Oh yeah, that's what I was doing, was selling it. And then now I swore off I'd never use it.
Right.
But when I did, so now the marijuana, and I owe all these guys like thousands and thousands of dollars. And he says to me, my friend from the South Side, he says, you know, you owe me about 20 grand. So, and I had it, you know, but I had to get it from other people. And so I paid him back, and I made a decision that, because I could have died over 20 grand easily.
Yeah, right.
Not died, but been
shot.
killed. Been killed. So I paid that up, paid the debt, was square with it, and I told myself I'm not going to sell drugs because I don't want to die from selling drugs.
Right.
So I decided that I'm just going to be a drug addict, and I'm going to be the best drug addict I can be.
Wow.
And so I start now, but I need money. You know, the money for is gone from selling drugs because, you know, so I decided to be a thief, and I would go into different stores and just steal all across the country, all across the state. I'm sorry. And I ended up in, I said I'd never do like a burglary or take from, which was really wrong. I'm just going to take from a store. I'm not going to take from a person.
Right.
And, but I ended up in, I think I had like 26 times convicted of shoplifting,
Wow.
and I ended up in prison for shoplifting. I spent years in jail and prison for shoplifting, all to feed this habit that is now out of control. So I'm getting into drug treatment centers where I swear I'd never go because I had this thing with my dad.
Right.
And but each and every time that I went into these drug treatment centers, they would always present the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. And I was like, you know what? If that stuff is what helped my dad, who wasn't there, I don't want nothing to do with it. Because my dad wasn't there,
Right.
and he's got 40 years, but he wasn't there. So how could this work for me?
Yeah.
And it's like almost the same thing with the Word of God. So continue to get out of the treatment, get a job, get my life together, and then boom, I'd use again because I was still addicted. I hadn't treated what was going on inside me. The past trauma, the abandonment, this God-sized hole that I was treating with everything but God. And I had a lot of resentments and a lot of fear. That was the one thing that the common denominator in everything was fear.
Wow.
Fear of everything. I was afraid of everything because everyone had the handbook to life. And, you were going out, you were doing sports. I mean, your sister, everyone, I'd see everyone just doing life. And I'm like, I can't figure this thing out. Like, I don't even know how to go to school. I made it to 8th grade.
Yeah.
So they continue. I'm going to each and every, I'm going to treatment centers, jails, prisons, all this over years and years and years. I finally had enough of myself, not of myself. I couldn't stand myself anymore. And I know, like most people, I mean, my mom was probably the only person that would tolerate me anymore. But I just couldn't stand myself anymore. The way I was living, the way I felt, I had always, what was crazy is every time I went to jail or prison or a treatment center, I would not only read their literature, but I'd read the Bible, especially in jail. I mean, there's no, that's the one book they give you. So I would read the Bible, and I remember doing a month of Psalms and a month of Proverbs, but every day, some wisdom and some stuff. And there's such a long journey from here to here.
Oh yeah.
Everything was academic for me. Because remember, I have this high IQ, and everyone's telling me, hey, you're really smart, you're not living up to your potential. So everything was just academic. So when I would read the Word, it would be either like a history book,
okay,
because that was my favorite subject, or it wouldn't be a set of principles that I can incorporate in my life, or it wouldn't be that. It would just be kind of either like a history book or a novel, something to do to pass the time.
Yeah, right.
But it wasn't something that changed my life, because I really wasn't taking it seriously, and I wasn't taking my life seriously. And as evidenced by me playing God on every single thing I did. I was my own God. I made my own decisions, because I didn't have, and it's not an excuse. It's like I was lost. I had no direction, no anything. So I was going to make my own rules, and I was going to break all the rules, and just enough so that I didn't go to prison for life or get killed. But that got me very alone. It got me, me playing taking his role got me alone. It got me depressed, got me addicted in this hole that I just couldn't get out of by myself. I was personally powerless over everything. And I just felt really empty inside, and I was so lost, and people kept on, well-meaning people, like, my mom, she would always tell me, I raised you better. And she did. And she did. I mean, she got me into, treatment centers, all these well-meaning people, but I had not hit the point. I had not hit the bottom where I was ready to do whatever it took to change my life. Because so I had 30 some years of wrecking my life. So now it's a daily process of changing my life, changing who I am. But I was doing, again, personal powerlessness. So I'm not asking for him to change me and doing what he says in his word. So still just lost. So I get, so now I'm taking this seriously. I get into Alcoholics Anonymous. I work the 12 steps, and I take it seriously. I get married at 90 days sober. Don't recommend that.
I love it.
Yeah, so very sick spiritually, very sick spiritually. And that's where all of this addiction, everything, it's just a spiritual sickness, and so now I'm thinking, because everyone abandoned me, and I'm thinking I have to get this family, so when she wanted to get married, I'm like, all right, cool, built-in family, but I didn't know how to even be a good friend, a good dad. I had a son. I have a son. I didn't know how to do any of this, and now I have a family with a 5-year-old, my wife, and like an 7-year-old.
Wow.
And I think it's all cool. So I get into really, really into AA, really heavy, and I start really taking my life seriously, and there's a set of principles that are built in, and it's all Bible based, which is cool, that I can incorporate in my lives that help with the family. It helps with my spiritual condition, so that I can be the man that God intended me to be. And so I'm going full force onto that now. So I'm different, really different from a lot of people. So now I'm going AA, and I'm sponsoring guys and doing all this. And now the wife who I just married and the kids are left in the dust. Now I'm trading in AA and that and these other men that I'm helping, but I'm forgetting about this family that God gave me and trusted me with. So now the obsession, because I'm like really like laser focused on a lot of stuff, which isn't good in a lot of ways, and so now now I'm abandoning her for AA. The same thing that my dad did to me, that I did to my son, I'm doing to her and to these other kids. And I'm trying, and I just still, again, don't have it all figured out. And I'm still trying to figure it out on my own. I get into Alcoholics Anonymous. I go really, really hard on that. And then I started to live a double life. The same way that I would. So I remember when I was using so bad, so hard, I would not walk past a mirror. Because I was so guilty, and we know that isn't of him. That's of him down there.
Yeah.
And the same thing that I was doing when I was in Alcoholics Anonymous. I got about 4.5 years clean, and moved out on the wife, abandoned her completely, so I can do what I wanted to do. And I'm hurting her. I'm hurting the children, and I'm abandoning them. And I go, now I'm so guilty of it, and I'm preaching all this good stuff inside meetings, and I'm living this double life. So I moved out on her. January 21st is my birthday. Mm-hmm. And 2 years ago, January 21st, well, we'll back it up to that November. I decided to use the CBD, mm-hmm. Whatever gets you high. It's like mm-hmm. weed or whatever. And they sell it in the stores. And, because I had, again, had enough of me. I had enough of me. I was sick of me again, the same way that I was 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. At this point. Just sick of me. And I thought that the only relief that I could get, my mind brought me back to what gives me relief, which is a lie, which is drugs and alcohol. And, that's just a temporary fix. I still wasn't treating what was in and here, and I was living this double life. So I used this CBD, and again, that wasn't enough. I wanted to, I had also gotten into much harder drugs and used needles. But I hadn't done it for like 4 years. And I'm already going into these different neighborhoods. I'm already smoking this CBD. So I go back to the south side, where I know a lot of people or did. And I find someone, and I think it was right around Christmas, and I relapsed on heroin and cocaine with a needle, and I was deathly afraid of fentanyl, which we all should be, but that's not what did me in. I used the needle, and I put it into my arm, and when you take it out, I must have dropped it on the ground, and a piece of bacteria got on there. So when you put the needle in and you take it out, whatever dirt's on that is running through your bloodstream.
Wow.
So January 21st was my birthday. I thought I had COVID. I was really, really weak and sick, and I was losing weight, and I thought, well, maybe I'm just losing a lot of weight really quick from doing drugs for a month, but it was never that rapid. And I was just really sick. I thought I had COVID. January 23rd, my wife, it's really cold January 21st, and she was going to come over, and she didn't. And I'm glad she didn't. She said someone, we know who someone is, told her she'll go on the 23rd.
Wow.
And
so you were moved out at this time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was moved out, but she was coming to visit me.
Okay.
And I had an apartment. The downstairs door was a security door, very heavy, and it always locked behind me. Mm-hmm. That day, January 23rd, it was open for her to come in. Mm. And she said, something told me I have to go see Bill. Wow. Opens up the door, and it's open. And I'm on the second floor.
So your door to your house, apartment is open too?
Yeah, this is the apartment building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then she gets in that one. This is all hindsight, what she's telling me afterwards. Then she goes up to my apartment door. I always lock it.
Yeah.
I didn't lock it that day. I remember using, and I passed out, and I hit my head on a table. Just before, that's the last thing I remember before she woke me up. She came into the room, and I remember she like she's a tiny thing, but I was too at that time. But she lifted me up and she put me on a chair, and she said, I'm looking at her and I'm like, so what had happened is I got sepsis, and it had already went to my brain.
Wow.
And I'll tell you in a second, but so I'm looking at her and my brain reverted back to a child, and I'm looking at my beautiful wife, and I'm like, Mom, or Barb, which is my sister. And I couldn't take it from here to here and say Amber. And I'm just sitting there and I'm dazed, and I guess she had, I peed all over myself.
Wow. So you're almost dead, basically.
Yeah, well, they said I had about 2 hours left to live.
Wow.
Takes me to the hospital. I go to St. Luke's first, and that was the beginning of, first they had to give me, do an open heart surgery on me. I had 2 valves replaced, 1 repaired. So ribs cracked open, and I'm there. And then they also had to, so this sepsis is like an infection, and it ran everywhere where your bloodstream goes.
Yeah.
All those organs got infected in my body. So they had to cut out all those organs. Then the second one they had to do was a brain surgery. So they cut out the infection in my brain. And now I'm in the ICU, and I'm freaked out, I have a colostomy bag on at this point, and I think I've been in every ICU at St. Luke's, and it's a major, huge hospital. And so I'm sitting there. They got me stabilized after those 2 surgeries, and I go to another hospital room, and they were, now I'm pooping blood. I've had multiple blood transfusions. There wasn't a day in those 4 months that I didn't have a procedure or a major surgery. So they said, so all the sepsis centers in your spleen, and it's like the garbage can to your body.
Yeah.
And I said, well, we got to take his spleen out. Can't do it because he will not survive. And at this point, I was about 100 pounds, and I wouldn't survive the splenectomy. So they're doing rigorous antibiotics, blood transfusions, and like waiting and seeing if I'm going to respond to these antibiotics. And I didn't. So I'm sitting there this is about 3 months into it. And the whole time I had no strength. I mean, I could talk. I could only, the highlight of my day was looking out at the helicopters for the flight for lice for the other.
Yeah.
But I had no strength to do anything. I could probably take Amber as a visitor for a little while. Mm-hmm. One of the cool things was I've helped a lot of people in those years that I was in AA, and it didn't go unnoticed. Those people, they all prayed for me to live, because I was dying. And there's probably 50, 60,000 people praying for me, because it was grave for a long time.
Yeah.
And guys would even come, I don't even remember this, but they're telling me this now, guys would come at my bedside and just sit there with me. So I'm dying, and I knew I was dying. They're making plans for the hospice, or like the respite care. You're gonna get out and all this. I believe it was false hope. Like they have to keep your spirit is the most important thing. You have to keep, and we have to keep each other's spirits up. But I knew it was It was bad. So they started doing more surgeries on me, and they would put me on this drug called ketamine. And I was already on like all the painkillers, but they put you on this ketamine, and you go into this, it's very scary, and you go into this dreamlike state when they take, they put the ventilator and they take it out. And I was terrified of everything. And I knew that I was dying, and I knew that I was going to die. I just knew it. He had other plans. He had other plans, man. And so I had I wanted, like, I was only being tube fed, and they would give me like Ensures and stuff, but I just couldn't eat anything. And I wanted a Reese's Pieces so bad. So I had my wife bring me some, and she's like, no, you, and I had her give me the 4-pack too.
Yeah, right.
So I ate them, and they went and did a colonoscopy. That was one of the procedures. And I was doing that, and I ate that Reese's Pieces, and I had to, like, they had to, like, it would take me like an hour to get from my bed into that chair. Oh. And on the way back from that chair that's sitting there, and I would sit there for hours because I was, I had no strength. I looked, and I was walking back, and I looked down, and it was all blood. And, and that's the last thing I remember. I wake up, and I couldn't, it was another, I was on the ketamine again, and you wake up when they take the ventilator out. And I wake up, and I said to the nurse right away, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, I said, am I alive? Am I alive? And they're like going about their business like it's no big deal. Yeah, you're alive, And I got Amber on the phone, and I said, I said, am I alive? Am I alive? She said, yeah, Billy, you're alive. And I said, just stay on the phone with me. So I couldn't, like, I was really weak, so I just put the phone by my, like that. And it was 3 a.m. She had to get my stepdaughter up for school, and she had to go to work. And but she stayed there with me on the phone, and I was in and out of it, and she could hear the nurses. And I was like, I'm so afraid that I won't make it to daylight, to dawn. Oh. And and so I would wake up, and I'd be like, am I alive? Am I alive? Yeah, yeah, you're alive. And she's like, yeah, I could hear all the nurses talking about you in the background. And so I make it to dawn, and this saint of a woman that's my wife, she came in with my friends from AA, and at this point I can't read or anything, so she sat there and she would read to me books, because I couldn't even see the TV. She would read like these spiritual books, and I still didn't believe it. It went from am I alive to am I gonna make it? So now I'm like, get Dr. Hudak on the phone. This guy saved my life. I guess it was like a 16-hour surgery or something. So yeah, he says you're going to make it. I said, I want him on the phone now, but so everyone was like, yeah, you're going to make it. You're going to make it. I still didn't believe that I was going to live. And so I'm making it, I'm going day by day. Now they get me into a different hospital bed. I'm really, really sick. Now I have an ostomy bag, a colonoscopy bag. So, but I can't even move, and I'm 100 pounds. The thing don't even fit on my body because I'm skin and bones. And, and they have me on, now we're at about 4 months of massive narcotics, and I'm an addict, massive amounts of narcotics, and I was hooked. I would call the nurse beforehand, and I'd look at the clock, like, when is my next dose? And I wasn't even in pain. I probably was in pain, but not for as much as I was asking for it.
Right.
So it's ready. I'm getting ready to get released. I've actually made it. Now I'm making it in a walker. I think I went around the nurse's station like 2 times. So I'm gaining my strength back, because like the human spirit and the human will is amazing. And I wanted to live, and I not only wanted to live, I wanted to get out of bed, and I wanted to walk, and all these things that I couldn't. I wanted to read again, and all these things. So I lost my memory. And so they said, all right, here's your release date. You're going to get released, but you have to come off these drugs, and we're going to put you on something to get you off of these. That isn't, it's a narcotic, but it's has a blocker as well. So I got on it, and that is also addictive. It's like a catch-22.
Yeah, right.
But I had gotten addicted while in the hospital. So I get on that, and now I'm going back. Now my apartment, she cleaned out my apartment, everything. She helped me. I mean, this woman's a saint. And so now I'm at the apartment at her house, and it is her house. And now I'm on Suboxone. And now I'm on this drug.
Yeah, right.
And I can say that.
Yeah. People know what that is.
Yeah. So now I'm on this, and I'm hooked on this. And she, rightly so, is like, no, that's a drug.
Right.
I don't want you on that. And moreover, I don't want the kids seeing you like that. Yeah. No matter. But she nursed me back to health. She would shower me. She would everything.
Sure.
Everything. And so now I'm thinking I got to get off the Suboxone. And instead of getting off of it medically, like I was put on it medically, and slowly taper off it, I'm like, nope, I can beat this on my own. And I was on my own. Remember? No God. No God, just Bill, playing God again. On my own, I'm going to get off this. So I got off it. In the light of, they gave me 30% chance of living when my spleen burst. When I went into septic shock, 30%.
Wow.
I mean, God said I give him the other 70.
Yeah.
But so in the light of all this, I went out and I said, you know what? I'm going to get off the Suboxone. And then the withdrawals were terrible. And I knew what could give me the relief, just like ever since I started smoking pot or drinking, I knew what could give me relief. My mind went back to what can give me that instant gratification, that instant relief, which was drugs. And now I know it's opiates. So I went and did that. And I put another needle in my arm after that. Yeah. I mean, it's like, after all this, and this is when I'm probably like 120 pounds with a colostomy bag going into the hood. Yeah. It's like, dude, do you not love yourself? Do you hate yourself that much? And I didn't like myself after what I did, after relapsing, after getting these, doing well, and then relapsing. I just wanted to crawl into a hole and die. But I'm a coward in that way. So I would have taken the easier, just overdose and be gone. Another selfish abandonment, very, very selfish, how I live my life. So, I did that for like a month, and I went and got a hotel room in one of those sleazy hotel rooms, and I was going from hotel room to hotel room. And my wife would do welfare checks on me, like send the police there. And so God was continually to work through my wife, continue to work through her. And because he loves me and she loves me when I wasn't loving on me. So I ran out of money and I said, you know what? I said a prayer and I said, God, I'm going to give this one more try. I'm going to give life, recovery, one more try. And I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to give you my all, my everything, because you saved my life. Like, you saved me. And, like, physically saved me.
Yeah.
And you used an army of my wife and all these armies you sent to save me. I said, I'm going to do it. So I went into I checked myself into St. Luke's South Shore.
Okay.
And their detox. And now I'm having seizures because of my brain surgery. I'm going through like a massive withdrawal. And I could have got the Suboxone. I didn't. I actually had it in my car, like stacks of it. And I said, nope. And I checked myself in, and the hospital, it was like days and days. And I went to, Amber got me, she did all the legwork. And I said, I don't want to go to some of these other places because I've been to every treatment center in the city. And she got me into this place, and it was run by a Lutheran congregation, and so every day I had to make the choice that I want to live, not just clean, but like want to live. Now I had to, so she gets me in the treatment center. I detoxed, but I'm still very ill. Like, I'm 100 and some pounds. When I breathe, it hurts because I just had my chest ripped open. Anytime I hiccup or burp or anything, because I had this heart surgery, everything hurt. And I had this colostomy bag. So I go into this treatment center, Serenity Inns. Thank you for Serenity Inns. And, I've known the guys from being in recovery, the CEO and just the guys. And they weren't sure if they could take me in medically because, like, liability and everything.
Right.
And he did.
God.
And every single day I wanted to leave because I was going to give up on me. And my mind told me, just leave, and just so that you can go lay down and you don't have to do the deal. And Kenjin Lex said, he said, you know what, Bill, with this big old smile, he says, man, we're in no hurry for you to go anywhere. Yeah. So I kept on doubling down, reaffirming my decision that I want to live, and I'll do whatever it takes to live. And and it's, fighting for your life physically. My life physically was the hardest thing I ever had to do of my own. And then I started to ask for God's power. So when I'm in this, so like everyone else is doing groups and everything, and if there's any free time, I'm just laying down, and they're like, you can lay down, man. So when I'm doing this, I'm listening to, you couldn't have a phone or anything, so I'm listening to the clock radio of different evangelists on AM radio. And so I'm downloading good stuff, and we have a spiritual group that came in, so I got a Bible. Now I'm reading the Word, and I'm just really trying to hold on to God, and so now I'm getting better in my spirit. I'm getting better physically. I had went out with my wife to Whitnell Park, and I ended up having, because I wasn't taking my medication because I had forgot to take, because I had this brain surgery, so my short-term memory was like really messed up. And I went there and I had I came back to the treatment center, and I had 7 seizures in a row.
Wow.
Back in the hospital, back on ketamine, and I could have gotten drugs.
Mm-hmm.
I said, nope, I'm going to go back. And I went there, and I basically just locked myself in. And I wanted to focus on whatever they told me at the place.
Yeah.
I knew that they had my best interests at heart. So whatever they told me, I did. And so I started to get healthy of spirit, of mind, and of body. And I was introduced more now, not introduced, but now I'm like, I want to go after God now.
Yeah. So the last 2 minutes here, can you just tell us about that?
Oh, yeah. So now I just want to, at this point, it's like, it's all about God, telling everybody that Jesus died. He saved me. He rose again, and he can help you too. And that is been my mission now, is to spread his word, to get trained up in him, and then so I can spread that to other people who are suffering from any kind of addiction or anything like that, that they can hear me and hear him speaking through me and how he's changed my life, from just this dirtbag to someone that can, be a friend, can help, and can just tell my story, and people can relate to me in any other way. The hopelessness, the emptiness, the merry-go-round of addiction or treatment centers, and at the center of all, it wasn't a lot of me. It was him that is working through me and has worked through me to save me, not only my soul, but my physical body. And that he loves me so much. I don't know about you, but I know I'm his favorite.
Love that.
Yeah.
So how long have you been clean now?
So that day when I went into St. Luke's South Shore was July 27th. It'll be 2 years.
2 years. That's amazing. That's awesome. And what do you think the key has been for these last 2 years to just staying clean?
Seeking God every single day and trying to help others. Yeah.
It's good. It's good. And so it sounds like you went from living for yourself and you being the God of your life to now living a life surrendered to God. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the main key, is surrendering to him and his will and what he would have for me. And it's a great trade-off.
Yeah.
It's such a great trade-off to surrender my will for something even better. Yeah.
Well, you're a walking miracle. So how many surgeries did you have?
So I've had 7 surgeries. So I had a brain surgery, open heart surgery, pancreas, lungs, full intestines. I'm sure there's something else.
Yeah,
spleen. Yeah,
right. So
lot.
by the grace of God, I mean, obviously
It's
God
him.
has a plan for your life, because I've never met a person who has had a brain surgery and a heart surgery all in the, pretty much within a couple days or weeks of each other. And then you've had, the sepsis and all these other organs go. So you're a walking miracle, brother. I'm so glad that you reached out to me again. And you're reaching so many other people. I know you're reaching other guys who've struggled with addiction and really showing them the path to Jesus. And you've gained your weight back. You're moving around better. You're a lot stronger now. You look great. So thank you so much for being here today. For those of you who are watching this online, if you want to reach out to me personally or reach out to Bill, I think he's tagged here in this Facebook Live thing. Reach out to us if you're struggling with addiction or you need prayer for something. Feel free to reach out to us. Next week, we're going to have another amazing testimony. We have Dr. Elie Hasbani, who Hezbollah tried to kill, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. So God has got some really cool things that he's doing. So have a great day. God bless you.